Yeah. There you go.
All right, welcome to KMC Vibes. This is your host, DL.
I'm feeling that.
Yeah, we've got a nice show today. Nice show for June.
Come and gather, take a seat, let it sink in this treat. Beginning for the moment, motion, make it motivation.
Welcome to everyone, KMC Vibes, courtesy of Blackan Radio. Say hello, Aaron. What's up?
What's up, Dwayne?
All right.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited about today's topic.
Cool. Aaron Walker in the house. It's been a while.
Yeah.
A couple of years, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So, 皆さん、KMC Vibes へようこそ。ちょっとすみませんが、本日の番組は全部英語で、やりますので、まあ、勉強しましょうか。This program, we got a special feature today with Aaron here, and we've got a special pre-recorded interview with Jellybean Johnson of The Time, Morris Day and The Time. You know, they just played their first gig in Tokyo last night. Everybody out there who knows Morris Day and The Time from back in 1980, 1981, give a shout out. Say, yay! What time is it? So we're going to talk a lot more about that over the show. But before we run the interview, just want to let everybody know KMC Kansai Music Conference, KMC 2019, will be happening this year. As usual in September. The dates are September 20 through 22nd. Venues will be in Honmachi, Hard Rock Cafe Osaka, and Kitahorie, the area near Shinsaibashi. Check it out. If you want to know the schedule, go to kansaimusicconference.com. You can also just Google KMC 2019. Or depending on your area, you might want to just write out Kansai Music Conference, and you can check it out. Everything will be jumping. We've got 3 visual artists.
Wow.
For this year, so looking forward to that. All right. Well, without further ado, we'd like to get down with this. I did a phone interview with Jellybean Johnson about 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who don't know Jellybean Johnson, brief introduction. So he's originally from Chicago, and he played with The Time.
Still does.
Yes. Well, now it's Morris Day and The Time.
Oh, yeah.
But he played originally with Flight Time, a band called Flight Time. And then Prince... they were all friends. Morris Day, Prince, Jellybean Johnson, Jerome, all those cats. In Minneapolis, and they got together. Prince formed the band The Time, and the rest is history. But just one real quick question.
Yeah.
Do you know, let's see, maybe who were some of the hardest driving band leaders, like the real slave drivers back in the day?
Well, of course, Prince,
James Brown.
Then we hear stories of on the R&B side, Larry Blackman.
Okay.
We hear, Morris and those guys were kind of in the camp of Prince. So Prince was leading all of that.
Sure. Yeah. I had heard Paul Simon was really, I guess you could say, a perfectionist. You know, if it wasn't perfect, you could try it. If you made a mistake, then you were fired.
Wow.
So the reason I mention that is because that is a key element to one, this interview, but also to the success of all those musicians back in the day.
Right.
Yeah. So check out this interview. It's live on Facebook. You can check it out. Facebook.com/KMC Music Awards. And we'll be commenting real time during the interview. So take a listen, and here we go. It's really great to great to speak with you.
Okay.
I've been a follower since way back in the day. My brother actually, my brother's 5 years older than I am, and he and his friends introduced me to the time back in the day.
Okay.
And I remember the name Jellybean Johnson. I was like, where did that name come from? You know, back in the day, you know, everybody, especially in school, everybody had a nickname, you know.
Yeah.
Where did that name come from?
Well, that name was given to me by a trumpet player that used to be in our band. You know, Flight Time was a band before it was a famous, you know, production company.
Right.
And it was given to me by a trumpet player, good friend of mine. He just retired as a firefighter and everything. But anyway, short story, we were playing at a club here in Minneapolis, and we were all like 17 years old downtown. And it's called the Flame Bar or whatever. And it was a Tuesday night, you know, and it was hardly a few people in there. We didn't like sound that great and everything. So anyway, he came off stage and he said, "Wow, you sound like a bunch of jelly beans tonight. What's going on?" He said. Then he looked at me. He said, "Jellybean Johnson," and the band just kind of fell out and shit. Well, anyway, the next day he brought a T-shirt with the name Jellybean on it and a picture of a vulture. Jellybean ever since. You know?
Okay, is it kind of a comedian, right? Okay.
Yeah, he's a very funny dude. Man.
Right. Did like everybody in Flight Time have a nickname?
Some of us did. We had Batman, who was David Island, a great friend of mine.
Okay.
World-class musician. Then we had Jimmy Chipmunk Anderson, who's he's a pilot now. Pilot for many years. And Big Bob, you know, Robert Johnson.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
And so going back, what was the difference between Flight Time and then what became The Time?
Well, the difference between the Flight Time and the Time was the Flight Time, we were like a 10, 11-piece band when we were like 12, you know, when we were like 15, 16 years old.
Right.
Whereas the Time was formed later, you know, much later after we started messing around with Prince and stuff.
Right.
Prince was in a rival band called Grand Central.
Right.
Morris. And so when Prince made it big, he cut a deal with Morris and asked him, say, you know, I'll give you money for this song Party Up, or I'll get you a band.
Sure.
And Morris chose the band.
Okay.
So that's how we came about.
Right. And like the scenes from Purple Rain, that kind of rivalry, that was kind of the main vibe, right?
Yeah, that was real.
Uh-huh.
It was rivalry. Like we were already, but it was always a healthy competition, you know, because as all of us had love for music, and we were all happened to be pretty good. So you know that helped it worked out because you know we were all good at what we did, you know.
Uh-huh. Back in the day, of course, as you mentioned, Prince had the Time, or I'm sorry, Prince started the idea of the Time and then put the band together. The songs were pretty much all Prince's idea, right?
Yeah. He wrote most of the songs. We, you know, in later years we started to get more input, but you know, in the beginning, the first two close to 3 albums was him and Morris. Yeah.
Okay. And one of the classics that you know, I myself am a drummer, so 7779311, that was just like a mind blower. Did you have as a drummer for the Time? Did you have any input in putting that song together?
No. It was Prince's creation and stuff. But the thing is well, once the song was made, Prince made a song off of this beat. This beat was programmed into the drum machine, a Lynn drum machine by David Garibaldi, who happens to be me and Morris's favorite drummer.
Okay.
I'm sure he was one of Prince's favorite drummers too. So anyway, so Prince made a song around that beat. So after we put the record out and stuff, me, Morris, and Prince sat down and, you know, tried to figure out how I was going to play this live. Now, I've been playing this live for 40 years now.
Okay.
It's a very difficult beat, and it helped make me, I guess, famous with the drum community because, you know, he put my name on it, but it's a drum machine.
Right. Well, I mean, like, what did you do? Just like practice, or you did it kind of like step by step, or because it's got a complex hi-hat plus an offbeat snare.
We sat down sat down to the drums, and between me, Prince, and Morris, we figured out how, because, I have to be able to do this every night in concert, and plus I got my guys dancing and shit, so
right.
It had to be as close to records as possibly where these guys can still dance and do their moves and all that stuff, and and it still be funky,
I guess that was probably one of the most complicated songs that you had to learn.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was. No question about it.
Right. And the other CDs, of course, the other albums, What Time Is It? One of my favorites, Pandemonium. That just is like a constant party on that. What was it like to record that song?
Oh, it was cool. That was most my Pandemonium's a drum machine too, but all the rest of the instruments are live and stuff. And I just added cymbals and shit like that later and stuff. But that was our whole idea with that was like a big party.
Okay.
Because when we play, still to this day, when the time plays, it's like a big party. We still do Pandemonium in concert today.
Okay. Does it sometimes get out of hand, like just over the top on stage?
No.
Okay.
I call it control chaos. Control chaos.
Okay.
Morris is in charge, so it works out. It's been working out for over 35 years now.
Okay.
It works out.
And so Morris Day was originally a drummer along with you and Prince back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How did he make the transition to frontman? Because I mean, he seems like perfectly carved out for that role.
Well, Prince taught him. Morris might not like me saying that, but he did. He taught him because Morris originally wanted to just play the drums. And so the original lead singer in the time was supposed to be Alexander O'Neal, but Alexander O'Neal wanted a bunch of money and stuff, and all this new house and new car and all that, and Prince wasn't having it. But he came back and he told Morris, he said, "No, why don't you sing?" And Morris said, "I don't want to sing. I just want to play drums." And he said, "Well, no, I'll tell you what to do. All you got to do is be cool. Just cool. Walk around, put your hand in your pocket, and just be cool." And he said, Morris said, "I can do that." So he came back and got me, and thus the time was born.
Wow. So it's almost like Morris Day is the alter ego of Prince, right?
Yeah. They were both unique in what they did. So. They did some things alike, but they both were unique. Prince was just, there'll never be another Prince.
Sure, of course.
World-class musician, period.
Right. Where are you? You're originally from where?
I'm originally from Chicago.
Chicago, okay.
I was born in Chicago. My mom moved me here when I was 12, 13 years old to keep me out of the gangs because they were recruiting me in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Gangs at a very young age, and I would have been dead. I wouldn't be on this phone with you. Hadn't done that.
Okay.
So we moved here to Minneapolis in 1968, and this is where, I grew up and learned all my musical stuff. I was around Prince and Morris and Jimmy Terry at 11, 12 years old.
Right. And so Minnesota has its own, especially from the 70s and 80s, its own unique sound. How can you kind of define that sound as being different from the Philly sound or Chicago sound or LA, New York for that matter?
The thing about Minneapolis, we're just funky. That's our whole thing. Me, Prince, Morris, Jimmy Terry, Andre Simone, all of us, Nick Condition. We just grew up funky. That's just we got lucky. I can say that we were lucky because that's just in our DNA.
Right.
We're just funky people, and you add a little bit more talent to that, and that's what you get. You get the Minneapolis sound.
Okay.
The Minneapolis sound originally was Prince, but then Terry and Jimmy and the rest of us expanded on it afterwards.
Right.
This was the original.
Now, working with Janet Jackson, did you do you felt you brought that Minneapolis sound to her music?
Yeah, we brought that, and I did Black Cat. I also brought a rock edge to her on Black Cat and stuff because I figured her brother had like Beat It, and Dirty Dan, and all that kind of stuff, and I figured she could have a huge rock song too.
Okay.
You gotta remember in the '80s, the heavy metal was huge.
Sure.
All the heavy metal rock guys lost it when they heard her do this.
Right.
They believed that. Janet Jackson getting heavy like that. She's funky.
Yeah.
Black Cat is heavy.
Definitely a classic.
Yeah, and see, a lot of people don't realize. See, I'm a rock and roll at heart. I love the drums, but I love heavy guitars. I play the blues all the time. I'm a guitarist too, and so
Right.
This is my DNA.
And so I suppose maybe another unique aspect of Minnesota is so many people play a million instruments. I mean, you know, Prince was all over everything, and you're
a lot of multi-purpose cats around here.
Right.
Yeah.
Was that just like an aspect of growing up in Minneapolis?
Well, it was for me. You know, when I went to college, I never forget one of my professors said, you know, you should always know 2 instruments. And, you know, and I always thought I was pretty good on the drums, but, you know, I had this great affection for guitar because of Jimi Hendrix.
Okay.
And, you know, so I started teaching myself, and a cousin of mine left, you know, he was living with me at the time, but my family had a guitar, so he just left it, and I would learn how to play it. So with a year later, I got good. Well, then he came back and he took it. My mother got me one of my own.
Okay. And so you've been basically playing drums and guitar for kind of the same length of time?
Yeah, for 20 years, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Almost 50 years, because I'm 62 years old, so I've been playing, damn near 50 years. Yeah.
Back in the 80s when the drum machine and keyboards, synthesizers were kind of more commonplace in music, how did that influence your musical writing style?
It influences a lot, you know, because, like I said, once again, I give Prince credit like that, because he used synthesizers in a very unique way. And I learned stuff from him. I learned stuff from Jimmy and Terry. You know, I learned how to use synthesizers to manipulate your songs and stuff. You know, I've had like 5 top 10 hits on my own. So, you know, that's where I learned from them guys, and watching them guys, and watching how they do things and the sounds they came up with.
Sure.
And I just found something that I like. That's what I incorporated into my production.
So with those influences, I guess maybe if you could maybe name your 5 like top influences just throughout musical history.
Okay, one would be David Garibaldi, Power of the Drum.
Uh-huh.
Another one would be Jimi Hendrix. You know, he's my all-time favorite on, you know, as guitars.
Right.
Another one would be George Clinton.
Okay.
Changed my life. Music. James Brown changed my life. You know.
Right.
On that. And one last one would be all the heavy rock bands, man. You know, I loved all the heavy rock bands. You know, I love Journey. I love Queen. You know, all those kind of, you know,
sure.
heavy rock bands.
Right.
Rush. You know, people like that. So the heavy rock bands really had an influence on me too.
Okay. So especially like the James Brown, the Prince style, to some lesser degree, George Clinton and Paul Simon, that really kind of style, almost like a tough love approach to their musicians, where they really were very strict on them and had them train and practice. What? Yeah. What? How did that affect your own style?
It really, I'm gonna tell you, it really helped me, man, because Prince was a slave driver back in the day, and at time we rehearsed 7 days a week, 8, 9, 10 hours a day.
Uh-huh.
And so that's why we were so tight, and that's why we were so stunning to people when we came out, because we were, you know, we had been a well-oiled machine, you know, rehearsing like that for a year.
Right.
So that's why we were like that, you know. And Prince, you know, he demanded excellence. And sure, you get mad. Some days you want to kill him. Some days you was as mad as hell and didn't want to do it, you know. But in the end, it all worked out for all of us, because it taught us, you know, to be better than anybody else.
Sure. And, you know, you've got yourself, JB, and then Jerome, and Terry Lewis, Jimmy Jam. You know, everyone is like an A-lister.
Yeah.
In terms of music.
Everybody in that band, with the exception of Jerome, has been to the top 10 on their own. And Jerome had his own record deal. People don't know that. Jerome had his own record deal.
Right.
The original time is a very unique cast of characters. I will always say that.
Uh-huh. Now, do you see that same type of discipline and learning music and instruments these days?
No. It's just it's too easy for them now. You know, it's too easy. You got computers. You know, your computer age. The millennials just don't put in the work. They just don't.
Right.
So they want everything for them, And it's hard to stomach sometimes, but it is what it is. You got some of these cats around here make millions and millions of dollars, and they have not put in the work.
Right.
It's a different time. It's a different time. So.
If you say maybe go back maybe 10 years, and if you started your own band, what type of style would you implement to get your musicians together?
I just, I mean, talent plays a part in it and stuff, but just you gotta have somebody that's loyal. You need loyal people down for you, and gonna the time and gonna do pretty much what you ask. That's the other thing too. A lot of musicians today, they don't want you to tell them nothing. They don't want they know it all and stuff. Well, no, you don't, because I know I don't know it all.
Right.
Well, it's a process. So it's a process. So you have to, you just have to put in the time and get a fair amount of visuals. Like the Jellybean Experience is going to be a band someday. I don't want no more about 4 or 5 people, because that's all. After a while, they're going to tune you out. If you don't get the right people, it will tune you out.
Sure.
The whole thing.
Tell me a little bit about the Jellybean Johnson Experience. What is it exactly?
Jellybean Johnson Experience right now is me and my partner Marty Bragg. We do shows, and I get all the up and coming young bands together, and we do these shows, and I all genres of music. I get up and play with them and stuff, and we promote them, and we promote their stuff, and that's what it is right now. Eventually, Jellybean Experience is going to be a band.
Okay.
My band. But now we do productions and everything. It's a whole olive branch of a lot of different things.
Okay.
And see, like I say, here in Minnesota, we're blessed. We have a ton of young talent.
Okay.
We have a ton of young talent that we like to get out there in the universe and let people see.
I see. Okay. And so you wrote a song, "Put Some Jelly on It." That came out last year. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. How did that song work out?
It's a great song. We didn't have any. I'm not on a record label or anything. We just did it on our own and stuff. And we're looking for for investors and stuff to get it out there more. I have another single coming out pretty soon with Tracy Blake and Eric Gill.
Okay.
And we just just building on my name and trying to build my brand up and stuff.
Okay.
Just trying to have some other stuff besides the time.
Right. Sure.
I'm in time and up deluxe, but all you have is your name. So you have to try to build your name up. I'm 62 years old. I'm in the 4th quarter, so I got to put stuff out there and to the people.
Sure. You have name recognition internationally?
Not as much as I want to. I have done some. I've been over to Australia. The last time I was in Japan was '91 with the time.
Okay.
Been to Dubai, so I'm around, but not as much. I've been to London, but still, I want to do more. Morris doesn't seem to want to go overseas too much, so I'm gonna have to start doing more of that on my own.
Okay.
He don't, but I'm sure I've been over there more than him. I can guarantee you that.
Right. So you've been to Japan just once?
Yeah, just once before, back in '91.
Okay. What was your impression of it?
I can't remember. It was I just remember I was a giant over there, and the Japanese people are relatively small. But I remember even then in '91, their technology was way ahead of us.
Right.
Then.
Right.
I remember getting in cabs. They had TVs in them. '91. And you didn't see that shit in America.
Right.
They hadn't got it yet. So now I'm looking forward to going over there now, because I know the technology is going to be off the chain, over the top over there. Do
you have a favorite Japanese food or anything you're looking forward to enjoying when you come?
That was the challenging thing when I was over there last time. Was finding stuff that I like. I'm probably going to be on a diet, because I don't really eat sushi. And my wife, Marty loves sushi, and I don't. I'm not a sushi guy. So it's going to be challenging for me to find food, but I'll survive. I need to lose a few pounds anyway.
Okay. Yeah. And so I'd like to ask a couple questions about, because you got the Jellybean Johnson Experience. Do you do any kind of workshops at schools or working with kids to develop talent?
Yeah. There's a thing called the Purple Playground. It's Heidi Vedder, and I do stuff with her. I did a thing with Bernard Allison, Luther Allison, great blues guitar great. His son, Bernard, we just did a thing out in Apple Valley at a high school for 5th graders. Preschool for 5th
Cool. Mainly in the Minneapolis area, or kind of branching out as well?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was like mostly here in the Minnesota area, but if the right situation came along and elsewhere in another state, another town, or something, I would do that too.
Okay.
It's good for these kids, man, because like you say, remember we were just talking about the millennials. They don't get it, so you can help them.
The millennials are really kind of heavily into using digital technology, computers, and so on. Do you, like, for example, in your current stuff, you're planning on doing your own singles and stuff. How much do you integrate the digital technology compared to with like the analog and keeping it more so kind of like back like it was in the day?
We do, but I like to use real musicians, man. I'm a musician guy. We like to get in a studio and play, and then mess with it later.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. The current computer age and all that, you can always use some of that. I did some of that in my production stuff, but I like to play. I like guys that play, and get them down on tape like the old school, like back in the James days.
Right.
You sit down, you lay your part down, and you lay it down till it gets right, and then you go back and you tweak it.
Are you a fan of just like playing a guitar line, and even if it's sloppy, just go and edit it and fix it up?
I've done that, but I try to get it right. I try to get it right when I play it. That's the one advantage of today. You can do that. You can play it kind of sloppy and go take a computer and fix it.
Right.
But what school I come from, Prince wasn't having. He wasn't having that shit. You had to play that shit right.
Right.
I tell you, I sat there for hours and played the lines and shit over and over again until it felt right.
Uh-huh.
I was mad, but when it came back and it was right, then I was glad that I sat there and took the time to do it.
But so that was under Prince's instruction, or?
But just Prince or Jimmy, any producer.
Uh-huh.
And I'm the same way today. When you're producing, you demand excellence.
Right.
So you gotta realize this record, once it come out, you can't go back and change it.
Sure.
You need to get it right. You need to get it right from the get-go.
So, as a final question, what's your advice to younger musicians that are out there, be it in Japan or in the States or Europe or wherever, that they have the talent, they have the motivation, but with all this, technology and YouTube and everything, it's so hard to get their music out to the masses?
Yeah, that's the frustrating part stuff. But my whole thing is, if you're passionate, stay true to your craft, and just stay at it. Good things will happen. It's going to get frustrating. The whole music game now is different than when I was coming up. It's really changed, and in a lot of ways for the worse. Right now, even with records, you really can't make that much money off records now. You got to get out and work.
Sure.
The record company's not giving you the support like they used to. They're not giving away the millions of dollars and all that anymore. No, because you can make a decent record in your house on a computer now.
Exactly.
That's part of the problem. And then you got all this streaming and all this stuff. You got all this stuff where the musician is taken out of the equation. He's putting you out the product, but he's getting ripped off.
Right.
It's very frustrating. So if I'm a young person today and you're good at your craft, just stay passionate and I'm gonna put this last thing in there too. You need to be lucky, and when I say lucky, you need somebody a prominent person or somebody that got some kind of clout. You see you and want to help you. That's the lucky part of it.
Right.
It's not always that's not always easy to happen. It's not always it's not easy to run into this person. Especially if they just see you one time, they may need to see you several times.
Right.
3 or 4 times, to see that you're passionate about your craft. It's tough, but like I said, if you're a musician, you're a true musician, you will stay true to your thing.
What's the best way to go out and meet those people who have connections?
You have to make yourself available, man. It's hard. That's the game is hard now.
Uh-huh.
And so we're saying this, and you need to be able to generate money to do that.
Right.
Be seen.
Sure.
So that's the whole thing. It's not an easy thing to do. I'm sitting here saying that, but it's not easy. But like I said, if the right person see you and believe in you, that's and you got a shot. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you for those words of wisdom, and I really hope that everybody can learn more about Jellybean Johnson experience, what you're doing. I look forward to your performance at Billboard Live over here.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Okay.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself, my man.
All right, thank you. All right, that was some serious talk from Jellybean Johnson.
Mr. Jellybean.
Mr. Jellybean, yeah. Man,
as Janet says in that one live video with the Time backing her when she did American Music Awards, and there's another live one of What Have You Done For Me Lately?
Yes.
She says, "A Jellybean!"
Man.
Have you seen that?
I've it was a long time ago, so yeah. And so I was really kind of impressed with a lot of what he said. And so much of it, especially with the younger generation, the millennium generation, that's really into kind of what's here and now.
Yeah.
Man, back in the day, I'm still that way. I'm sure you probably are as well. Yeah. But man, you know, I recording, it's always like, no, go back and play it right. And you know, I'm a drummer, you're a drummer. I just work hard. And how long have you been playing drums?
I started playing drums when I was about 8 or 9.
Okay.
And then seriously started playing drums from probably around age 12.
Okay. When I started around age 12, but when I was in university, I would go in like my drum practice room for an hour, and I would literally play double bass drum, you know, 10 minutes straight.
Yeah.
And just, you know, just work out.
Yeah, from that age, from about 12, 13, I played drums every day from sun up to sundown. In school, I joined a jazz band, which was Zero Period, which was before school started.
Class,
I was the drummer for jazz band. Then during the day, I was fortunate enough to work out my schedule so that I had several music classes during the day. I was drummer for marching band, which was third period. Then I joined in to play percussion with the orchestra, and sometimes didn't take lunch so I could go play with the orchestra, and then I'd play with the choir. Then I had a class called Music Lab where we get to jam and play rock or write whatever we wanted.
Did you study like English and math?
Exactly. Then after that, after school finished, then I would go home and I would have my own band and play, and I had a 4-track at home, and so it was 100% music. So I understand.
Cool. So Jellybean is actually the drummer for the Time, Morris Day and the Time. But he also wants to be recognized for his work as a guitarist and vocalist. Yeah,
I've had the chance to meet Mr. Johnson several times.
Okay.
And he is such an outstanding, wonderful guy.
Did you go up and say, Jellybean?
No. First time I met him was about 20 years ago when the Time was on tour in Portland, Oregon, where I'm originally from. And I do video production as well, as you know, and I was doing a video interview with the Time for Black community television at the time. And he was so friendly. Out of everyone, everyone in the Time was cool, but he was the most friendly and outgoing with me at that time, 20 years ago. After the interview finished, he gave me his home number and address and everything, and he was like, "Yeah, stay in touch."
Come on over.
And no, he wanted me to send him a copy of the video and all that afterwards. But yeah, great guy, and then met him several times since after. But he was definitely an influence of mine too, because growing up watching those guys, Prince was a huge
of course.
Influence in my life, and of course the Time, and of course Prince was programming a lot of that stuff. But when I could catch them live or seeing the pieces from the movie or whatever, you'd see Jellybean up there representing. Right.
Yeah, for a lot of you out there who may not know, Prince was actually the architect of the group The Time. He actually created the band, created the music, and produced all of the first 3 CDs that they had, along with Morris Day, and then used the musicians as the live performers. Yeah. But Prince had his own stuff, as well as the time and other side projects. So he was quite a busy man, just doing everything.
Yeah. Speaking of side projects, one project that I've followed for many years that Jellybean has been very influential in is Prince created a group called The Family, if you're familiar with them.
Yeah.
And they had the Nothing Compares to You before Sinead O'Connor and all of that. So I got into The Family back in 1985, and Jellybean was the drummer for The Family,
right.
handpicked by Prince. Him, Paul Peterson, and Susanna, which was Wendy's twin sister, and Eric Leeds, and Jerome was also in The Family too, and who is from the time. And I became a huge fan of them and always loved their work. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to The Family, but Prince wouldn't let them use the name. The Family on their own. So they changed their name to F Deluxe. And so check out F Deluxe and check out F Deluxe's stuff. And Jellybean is the drummer for F Deluxe. Check it out on YouTube.
Okay. One thing that Jellybean...
Oh, I'm sorry. One thing that he does is not just drums. When F Deluxe plays live, Jellybean is the guitarist.
Right, okay.
Exactly. So that's really impressive.
So one thing that he told me about drumming for the time was the fact that I mentioned in the interview, that 777-9311. For those of you who have not checked that out, check it out. I'm going to put it on the Facebook page. On YouTube, 777-9311. It is an amazing song, and it's partly amazing because of the drum beat. I challenge anyone, in fact, anyone who can play that drum beat competently, send me a video of it, and I will send you some money. It has to be from this day on, yeah. But I mean, if you learn that drum beat, you are a very competent drummer. So he says a lot in this interview. Yeah. What you were able to meet him? On
several times.
Other situations?
Yeah. Most recently was back in Minneapolis. I was there on one of my recent trips back to the States, and he was, of course, he's always around the scene, and he was hanging out at a place called Bunkers, which is famous in Minneapolis for a lot of people come through there and play. They were all in the Prince camp and whatnot. And I caught up with him there, and he remembered me, and we had a nice chat and took some photos together and whatnot. And then he said, "Oh, come check out my band over here on the other side of town playing this." So then I went over to his other spot, and then a second time back to Minneapolis at visiting Paisley Park and all the things after Prince passed away. I was at a gig with Jesse Johnson and Michael Bland on drums, and Prince's band was basically backing Jesse playing at First Avenue.
Okay.
And Jellybean was there hanging out,
taking out the shit,
and then talked to him again there.
Okay.
So, but he's always just been so
cool and laid back. Cool. So are you going to check him out at Billboard?
I would like to. My work these days is I'm
here and there. Right?
Well, I do a lot of production. I'm an international production coordinator for big music festivals. So I've got to go to Nagoya that day, and we've got a big festival this year. We've got Wiz Khalifa, and we've got Blackpink, who are big Korean girls group right now. Right. And I'm the one who has to plan all the stuff for them, and I just don't know if I can finish my meeting in Nagoya in time enough and get all the way back here.
Right.
So, yeah.
For those of you who want to check out, it's, they performed, Morris Day and the Time performed yesterday in Tokyo, Billboard Live. They're playing tonight and tomorrow night. The price is $11,800 and $12,800, I think. And they'll be playing on the 25th in Billboard Live in Osaka. That's Tuesday. I'll be there for the second show. You can come by and say hi to me or check out the show. The price there is about $13,000, I think. And really looking forward to it, man. Yeah. Those cats. It's not the original cast of characters, but still, I'm sure with Morris Day out there and Jellybean, and it should really be cool.
I've seen some of those players that are going to play at Billboard before, right. And those guys really hold it down and stay true to the original sound. Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, so like I want to ask you like about some other famous people you've met.
Sure.
But you've come up with today's the top 5 list for this month. This is the KMC top 5. Top 5. What do you have for us?
The KMC top 5.
Top 5 what?
Yeah. The top 5 coolest famous people that I've met. The list that I came up with.
Okay.
Starts with
drum
roll.
Okay. The number 5.
Number 5.
Number 5
is Sade.
Sade. You met Sade.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
What was the situation?
A few times. I don't know if I should tell it on air.
just a real brief coverage.
Okay. Well, is it the first time or second time? The time that I'm most happy about meeting with her was when I had a chance to spend really chilled time with her, just the two of us, just only one-on-one, and that was she was so cool. I mean, she's beautiful and all of that. Yeah. But when you meet her in real life, she's really straight.
Yeah, I've seen her interviews with her, and
she's really straight. But she's not like she looks on TV. When you see a real person, of course, person, right. They have their freckles and pimples and stuff, and she has the large forehead or whatever, but she's a beautiful, beautiful soul. And in that case, I happened to be backstage at one of her shows, and I walked down the hall, and I called her by her real name. Sade is her the band name or her stage name, and I called her by her real name, and she was like, "Oh hey," and then,
"Oh hey,"
exactly, and then invited me into her room, and then we sat down and had a chat for a while, just the two of us. And that was just, you can imagine how mind-blowing that was.
I'm with Sade.
Exactly. And then she, at the time, I had a single out that was out around the world that I had produced for another artist, and she had actually heard my song, and she talked about hearing my song in some clubs in Europe. So I was blown away that Sade was talking to me about hearing my song, and I was like, what is this? And, we chatted for a good 20 minutes or so, and then she just wrapped it up with, well, I got to get ready for the show. I got to do makeup and stuff. And I was just like, okay, I'll let you go now. She's like, well, thank you. Thank you for coming by. Nice chatting with you. And then I went in and, of course, watched the show after that. But so number 5 was Sade.
Okay, cool. Number 4.
Number 4, we'll have to go with Mr. Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, yes.
Yeah.
I know that one. That was an interview done in Tokyo.
Oh, done here in Kansai.
Osaka, in Kansai, okay.
Not in Osaka, but I met Tom doing an interview with him in Izumi Otsu.
Izumi Otsu, right.
There's a shopping mall there, and he had a special event for a promotion of one of his movies, and it was actually on top of the shopping mall, so it wasn't open to the public.
Right.
And it was really private, but we did it on top of the shopping mall outside. And I had the opportunity to do a television interview with him, and it went really well. But before the interview started, when I first came into the area, he was really happy just to see someone else that was Western. There were about 2,000 Japanese, photographers and cameramen and a select group of fans, and everyone was yelling in katakana.
Right.
Tamu. Yeah. And he was like, you could just tell he had had enough for the day.
The Tamus, yeah.
Exactly. And he was like, he came right up to me. He came up to me. I didn't have to even approach. He came up to me. Hey, man.
Cool.
How's it going? And he
cool.
Was so happy to see someone, that was Western.
Uh-huh.
And then he came back to me again later. He came back to me like 3 times that day, or that evening. And then we did the interview, and he just, it could have been fake, but he's such a good actor, but he just seems so genuine.
Right.
And he came off as 100% genuine, and we really talked and had a great. It was a great experience in my life.
Cool. Now, speaking of Tamu, I'm going to put it in the background. This is a song from Thomas Mach. He joined KMC several years back, and he comes to Japan every now and then to do concerts.
Violinist, right?
Violinist, yes. This is a song called Wine of Ajimu. I'm going to put it in the background. Yeah, cool. Okay. Okay. So, number 3.
Number 3, Mr. Teddy Riley.
Teddy Riley. Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Now, some of you might not be familiar with who Teddy Riley is, but if you're familiar with Mr. Michael Jackson, do you know the song Remember the Time?
Yes.
So Teddy wrote and produced that, and of course many other other songs on the Black or White album.
Yes.
So Teddy on his own has had fame through his group Guy, starting way back in the 80s, doing R&B. But before that, he was the one that programmed. If you remember Dougie Fresh,
yes,
he's the one that programmed that beat for
the
exactly.
The song, right?
And he did all of the what's the group called? Uptown stuff.
Uptown,
the record label. Uptown, all the Heavy D stuff.
Yes, yeah, okay.
He did the Keith Sweat,
and also
he did Just Johnny Kim. Just got
okay.
paid. All that. He was behind the scenes guy as a producer. Then Michael Jackson was the really big one that blew him up. But then he had his group Blackstreet that blew up on their own with No Diggity.
Wow,
if you remember that. When that blew up,
way back in the day.
Yeah. So he has done really, really well. But he has been a really, really cool. Became a friend, and we stay in contact. Too,
okay.
So.
Cool.
It's cool.
Number 3, Teddy Riley. Right.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Moving on to number 2.
Okay.
I had to really dig deep and think about who has been influential in my life. As both of us are drummers, maybe you can recognize this name, and if any of you are into jazz out there, you'll know this name. Number 2 is Mr. Art Blakey.
Of course. A classic in the jazz world and music world itself, right?
Yes.
Right.
I had the opportunity when I was very young. Because Art has passed away now, but when I was in junior high, I was really feeding off of any kind of new, Billy Cobham, his playing, and also Art Blakey, and these people were really influential to me as drummers.
Dave Weckl and shit.
Yeah, everyone, yeah. And I had the opportunity to go to one of his sound checks, and I wasn't old enough to attend the show, but he let me come in to the venue and sit right on the side of the stage, and not be in the venue with it. But then I came in, and then after his set finished, then he handed me a pair of his signature Art Blakey sticks. And and he said some really encouraging words, and that was just really, as a junior high school, that really blew me away.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And the top coolest person you have met.
The top number 1 coolest famous person I have met, I would have to say, was Mr. Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
Okay.
and as you know, he's
king
of the movie world,
right?
And, everything from E.T. to Schindler's List,
right?
And all of those films. Yes, Steven Spielberg. I was invited. He has a company called DreamWorks.
Yes, of course.
And I have a friend who was working at DreamWorks, and I was in LA at the time visiting, and they had a company picnic up in the hills, and I was invited to the company picnic. And so Steven Spielberg was there, Jeffrey Katzenberg was there, I can't recall his name. David Geffen was there.
Okay.
I met all those guys. Those are huge names.
Right.
But so what happened was Spielberg was we were playing a baseball game, and I was so nervous because I was on the up to bat, and
right.
Spielberg is sitting there on this, between the third and fourth baseline, with his arms up, with those sunglasses and that whole thing, just like watching. And they have it. Of course, this is a DreamWorks production, so it wasn't just the baseball game. They have a PA, and this is just at a park, but they have a real MC and a PA, and they're like, I missed, I strike out, and they're like, I didn't strike out, but I whiffed one, and the MC is like, oh, it's Aaron. We can see no relation to Mr. Hank Aaron, but and I'm like, oh man, I'm right in front of Spielberg. I gotta make this happen. And then I did it, and so there were teams. There were Katzenberg's team and then Spielberg's team. But anyway, I the side that I was on, I connected. I didn't hit a home run, but I knocked in 3 runs.
Okay.
So our team won because of my hit. So then Spielberg and those guys were applauding me. Then later in the party, they had it was really free to talk to everybody. So then I went over and I said, "Oh, Mr. Spielberg, it's such a pleasure to meet you." And he's like, "Oh yeah, where are you from? Oh, what do you like?" And I started getting into music with him, and then he went off deeply into a deep talk about how music, moves people and how important music was, into the scores and it was just like being in a dream talking with Spielberg about music. Then after music, he changed the conversation into technology. Now this is back in the day. So he started talking about fiber and working between the different studios and being able to connect everything via the internet, which is what we have now. But he was talking about this stuff
some time ago,
years before it even was together. So that was really, really, really influential, and I thought it would just end there. But then then we took Spielberg and I took a photo together. This is way before the days of selfies and stuff. This is when we had film, not digital cameras. And so we took a photo together, and then we had a foam party there where they make bubble soap foam, and everyone's playing in the foam. But the guy who invited me was on his camera, and he dropped his camera in the foam. So the film got ruined, and I was so disappointed. And then I went back home to Oregon, and then I think I wrote him a note saying, "Oh, Mr. Spielberg, it was such a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for talking and everything." And unfortunately, our picture got destroyed in the foam. A few weeks later, I got a letter in the mail from Steven Spielberg himself saying, "Mr. Walker, it was such a pleasure to meet you and talk with you at the event." He said, "I know the picture got ruined in the foam, but the memories will live much longer than any picture." And he was right about that. I can still remember the memory of it without even ever having that photo. But then just to hear for him to take the time to write me a personal letter, that was really, really amazing.
Cool.
So yeah, he was one of the coolest. And then can I give you the people that didn't get to make didn't make the list?
Okay, you got like 1 minute.
Okay, I'll just say really quick, 1 or 2. Another one would be Mr. Jesse Johnson, who was a bandmate in the time.
He
Has been very, very cool. him with D'Angelo and all that. And then another guy is Spike Lee.
Spike Lee,
who
yes.
has called me at home and done interviews with me and who's been really, really cool. So that's my list.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. I wish I could say I've met Sade.
Yeah.
For me, I'll just mention maybe the top three. One is definitely I don't want to say Chuck Berry. Why can't I think of the name? I met Little Richard, but that was very briefly. I always get him confused with Chuck Berry. The other blues, same
Chevy
era. Starts with a B.
B. I'm not sure.
Hey, I'll think of it.
Okay. Number two.
Buddy Guy.
Okay.
Buddy Guy was really cool when I met him. Chuck D. Chuck D's extremely knowledgeable, very influential.
Yeah, I met him.
Buddy Guy.
Buddy Guy
is the guy I'm thinking of. Yeah. Man, I met Buddy Guy. I was running sound, and it was so cool because he traveled on tour. Just showed up with he and his manager, and he during that tour he went to every city he went to. He would stop by a university and grab the group of university kids, and it was so cool because the sound check was just all right. This song's gonna be in the C. We're gonna do this. I'm gonna do a solo, and that was it. And it's like, man, that is pure musicianship right there.
Yeah.
But for me, probably the coolest famous person I've ever met was Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I say that is we only talked very briefly, maybe about 4 or 5 minutes. But just when I saw him, this was back in like 92, I think. It was at a Broadway play, backstage at Broadway play. But he was dressed in straight up white suit. And he had his son in a straight up white suit. And I was like, man, if I have a kid, that's what we're doing. Wow. It was just, man, it was such a strong impression.
Yeah, it must look so tight.
Yeah. Well, that's today's show. Aaron, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, always good to have a conversation.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again.
Yeah, I hope you can drop by for KMC this year.
Yeah.
And
September 20th through the 22nd.
Yes. Kita Horie, Honmachi, Hard Rock Cafe, Osaka, and such.
Yeah, KMC is a great opportunity to see what's going on here locally in the music industry and in Japan. So I definitely recommend you checking it out if you have a chance.
Cool. All right. Well, that's today's show. This is your host, DL. Thanks and a shout out to Louis, Jaja, Blackan Radio, and we'll be back for next month's show in July. Peace.
Yeah. There you go. I'm feeling that. Come and gather, take a seat, let it sink in this treat. Being it for the moment, motion making motivation. We appreciate politicking, meaning talking about life, not about politics and all the meaningless of the live soul. Unfold your arms if you're looking to be disappointed. We just came to rock the joint. Appointed MC for the moment, and I won't waste this chance to enhance your everyday existence, even if it's not boring. Boring is the tag I hold in any place I go. So I just keep flowing like the river, letting opposition